Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday, the 9th of February, 2020. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. We're going to take a look at the silver price first today. 27.36. It's up 13 cents. Looks like it wants to come back down. That's what it looks like it's doing. It looks like it's falling back down again right now. Even though it's kind of dipsy-doodling a little bit. Anyway, it's 24.37 right, 24.34 right now, 27.34. Sorry about the mix-up. Let's take a look at gold. Gold today is up $11.40 at 1841.80. So I'm going to tell you guys what. We got a situation right now with the Fed and all the stimulus and everything, and the Fed has now offered support for these markets. The markets are melting up. They're crashing up right now, and what they're actually doing is the markets are actually beginning to hyperinflate. Before the dollar, the markets are hyperinflating first. Let's take a look now at cryptocurrency today. We see a new coin. Is that a new coin? Model 3 Tesla? 37,000? I don't know. Bitcoin, though, is at 46,871. Bitcoin's been doing rather well since Tesla bought in. He bought in big time, over $1 billion. I'm going to tell you, cryptocurrency, not only is it not going away, if they don't do something about this, the central banks, this is the biggest threat to their present monetary system that there is. A bigger threat to them than gold, is the cryptos. And yeah, I consider it still small. I consider it still early adopter phase myself. Anyway, $1,364,000,000,000 is in crypto right now. That's the total market cap of the whole thing, with a Bitcoin dominance of 63.1%. Okay, Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's down 74 points on the day at 31,311. Now we're going to look at the crude oil. 57.81 today for crude oil. And it's down 16 cents. The move index creeping up a little bit, but not real fast. It's up 1.25%. 125, which is 2.66%. Why we watch the move index is this is the credit markets. This is your window into the credit markets. As long as the move index stays below 75, goes up above 75. This is what this really, it jumped way up. I think it was like 168 or something like that. Jumped to when they had to do the big thing with the Fed had to do the big thing with the repo market. Okay. Bonds and rates today. We're looking at falling yields on the long end. It's 1.14 on the 10-year and 1.925 on the U.S. 30-year. And long end has fallen just marginally, just a little bit. Let's take a look at the dollar index. 90.59 on the U.S. dollar index today. Okay, and it's fell off a little bit. Earlier in the day it was like a 90.87. So dollar index has fallen just a little bit today. Now I want to show you guys something. I want to talk about something. Maybe tell you a story or whatever. Let me see if we got it here. Okay, just a second. I'm looking for it. This right here. Let me get my image on it closer so you can see it. Just give me a second. Just looks like the bottom end of a sandbox or whatever. I'll tell you, this is what my father and my grandfather did. This is what my father and my grandfather did years and years ago. Went down to Florida and they did a lot of camping. And when they were in their tent, you know, my grandfather, a bunch of skunks came in the middle of the night. And they started trying to root in around underneath the tent and everything, you know. And my grandfather had to go out and chase them away, and then uh, it really upset him. He went back to sleep, and they came back, started rooting again underneath his tent. Skunks. So my grandfather, you know, he got up again. He banged some pans or whatever, and got him to run away, and that went on 2 or 3 times during the night while he was in his tent. He said to my grandmother, I love camping and everything, you know, but I can't stand these skunks. I'm not going to sleep in the tent anymore. That's it. That's it for me. I know we love camping and everything. We have a lot of fun, but it's spoiling my fun for me. I can't sleep in the tent. So he came up with an idea. He went home and he came up with an idea. It's such a simple idea. He just took basically a sheet of plywood and measured it out a little bit bigger than his bed, than his mattress, you know. I think my grandfather and grandmother had a queen size mattress, but I'm not sure. You know, it was a sponge, you know, a soft foam mattress. You know, so he measured the mattress off and he made a box like this. He took 1-inch boards and a sheet of plywood, cut the plywood to the right size, took the 1-inch boards and went all around it. And the 1-inch boards are 8 inches or 6 or 8 inches tall. I think they're 8 inches tall. 8-inch boards, right? And then what he did was he made another one. He made 2 of these, exactly the same size. And simply what he did was, let me see if I get the next picture here. He put the 2 together with door hinges on the back, right? And then what he did was he cut a couple pieces of wood that would fit in to hold it up, like hold it open, like just a couple pieces of board to hold it open, you know. And then he went inside when it was open, like it was like a clamshell, you know. He went inside and he had to squat in there, of course, because you know it's not a lot of room. And he took small sized galvanized roofing nails they used to hold shingles down with, you know. And he took some canvas, cut the canvas to the right size with a pair of scissors, and he nailed it on the inside with these roofing nails, the canvas. And he put his mattress inside there, and then he took this thing and he just bolted it to the roof of his car with some lag screws or bolts to the roof of his car really tight, you know. So my grandfather made one. He absolutely loved it. He went camping with it, and he'd just prop it open and crawl inside, you know. And he was on his mattress, and his head was up in the direction that it was open, like, you know, the thing. So, but my grandfather's having a bit of trouble with mosquitoes, even up on the roof of the car. You know, mosquitoes would come in through the front of the canvas because he didn't have a zipper or anything, you know. So then my dad liked it too. He said, that's a great idea to my grandfather. Said, Tommy, that's a great idea. I love that. You're up off the ground. Animals can't bother you at night, you know, when you're camping, and you don't have to set up the tent. You just prop this thing open and climb inside and go to sleep, you know. So my dad built one too. But my dad was pretty ingenious. He did his a little bit different. He used canvas the same way as my grandfather, but he had the canvas so it come down to the front, and it made a little doorway, like a little square doorway. And he also cut the boards so that he had a little bit more headroom. Instead of having 8-inch boards, like, so that he had to squeeze in a little bit, he cut a little door opening, like in the center, about 2 feet wide, and he made the boards so that they were only 4 inches where they were cut, you know, so a little bit easier to get in. My dad's one that my dad made, like he was improving upon my grandfather's one. And then what he did, what was really ingenious is in the doorway on the inside of the wood, he flattened out some tin cans with his hammer, cut them with tin snips and flattened them out with his hammer, and he nailed them on the inside. metal, just a very thin layer of metal, and he tapped them all down so there's so that there's nothing he could cut his fingers on, like they were right flat with the wood, real smooth. He nailed them on with the roofing nails, these two strips of metal, one on the top, one on the bottom. And then what he did was he cut a piece of screening, like screen you use on the windows. He cut a piece of aluminum screen, the same size as the door, and then he got himself a whole bunch of magnets. From the back end, it used to be the Eagle Army Navy store, used to be, way back in the 1970s. The United States had an Eagle Army Navy store. He went in there and bought a bunch of these little round magnets. They were black-colored magnets with a little hole in the center. Back then they used to sell them for like 20 cents a piece. He got like 2 dozen of them. And what he would do is he'd take the screen, he'd climb inside, and then he'd take the screen, unroll it, and lay it over the area of the door, and then he'd just snap the magnets on it. Held it nice and secure, the screen in place, and he never had any bugs inside his, And then when he was done in the morning, when he'd get up and go outside to make coffee or whatever, he'd get up in the morning, cook his eggs or his bacon or whatever, when he left, he would take the screen, roll it up, and snap a couple of elastic bands around it. And just leave it inside, right there for the next use, And that really worked well for my dad. And I'm going to tell you guys what, for years I remember sleeping in one of these on the roof of a car, when we used to go camping, And man, they're great rig, I'm going to tell you, and they're awful cheap and easy to build. And when they're folded shut, they don't look any different. Oh, and I'll tell you one more thing my dad did on his. My dad used to face his forward toward the front of the car. And he used to climb up on the hood. And those big cars were heavy. It was a big old Chevy Impala way back when they were tanks. The cars were tanks, basically. So my dad would climb up on the hood to get in, inside it and everything. And he had the front end facing toward the front end. And so he had put about 3 hasps, door hasps, with locks on them on the front where it opened, He put like one, he put like, or maybe he had 4. He had several of them across the front, so the wind couldn't blow it open when he was driving down the highway, because that'd be a disaster if the wind blew it open and he had it facing forwards, But those hasps, he always made sure the hasps were on, the locks were shut, so that the wind couldn't grab it and lift it open, while he was driving down the highway. And he had that on the roof of his car, and when it was folded flat, it just looked like a rooftop carrier, because it wasn't real thick, it was just thick enough for your feet, that when your feet were down in the end of it, so that your feet wouldn't touch the top of the plywood, just barely enough, I think it was about, if I remember right, it was about 16 inches thick when it was folded, Of course, when it was open, it was different, but when it was folded, it was about 16 inches thick. And my parents used to, because they liked to camp a lot, they used to just leave the mattress in there all the time. That one mattress, a foam mattress, they used to just leave it in there all the time. And the thing never leaked or anything, and stayed dry inside and ready to use. Anyway, I figured you guys might find that interesting. Listen, you guys have a great rest of the day. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.